What's going on, guys? It's your girl Tech Job Tina signing in for another episode. Man, it is the weekend. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I want to get into some content that I got for you guys. I got 3 topics we're going to get into. I always like to do things in threes, just kind of going over some stuff that I ran across out here in these internet streets. Now, one of the things I want to start with, I want to talk about scaling in tech. Now, for those of you that follow my guy Cyrus Harbin, he talks a lot about scaling in tech. Now, if you're not familiar with the term, all it means is when you scale in tech, basically you're breaking into tech, you're starting from ground zero, and you're plotting out a plan to scale your income within the tech industry. So that may mean that you're breaking the tech into an entry level role. It may not even be a 6-figure role. Let's say you break into tech into a $75,000 a year role. And then the next year, you're able to scale to a $100,000 role. And then next, you're able to scale to 150, and then 200, and then 250, then 300. That is scaling in tech. It's getting your foot in the door and shaking and moving in a way that allows you to increase your income. And why do you want to do that? Because you want to have options, right? And nothing gives you options more than a high income, right? So that is essentially what is meant by scaling in tech, right? So now that I bring that up, I want to talk about a young lady that lives in California that works at TikTok. She is the prime example of how you can scale in tech. So I love her story. I want to share the content with you. It was one of those CNBC Make It segments that came out recently. So I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to watch this episode. It's only a few minutes long. Let's go.
We are all imperfect, but you can try to do it all. You can have a job at a big tech company. You can be a working mom. You can have friendships and you can work out. It's all about time management and finding the balance. While you're doing all this, you may not be perfect, but don't feel like you have to choose one over the other. My name is Sora Lee. I'm 34 years old. I make about $400,000 a year. I live in San Mateo, California. One thing that I like about TikTok is it moves really fast. I sit between product and sales and users. Sometimes I go to market with a product. They wanted me to send them feedback from each day. And because I have engineers in Asia, a lot of them that were easily addressable or fixed overnight. That was the moment when I realized why TikTok has been growing so fast. In 2023, my total compensation consisted of my base salary and sign-on bonus from TikTok, severance from Meta, selling primary residence I co-owned with my ex-husband, and landing some brand partnerships deals.
All right, so let's dig into this a little bit. So this is her 2023 total income, $839,000 and some change, right? So she's a creator, so she's got some creator money coming in. It's making up $8,000 of it. She's got her rental income, so she owns some rental properties, $20,000 there. She sold some stocks, another $24,000 in there. Meta severance. When she left Meta, they broke her off $133,000 in severance. Man, that's a sizable severance right there. I ain't mad at that, right? So then she's got her TikTok salary, which is $291,000. And then she said that her and her husband, they sold a house and that netted her $362,000 from that. So she got this is looking good right here. I ain't mad at Sora. Let's keep it moving.
As a creator. I graduated in 3 years. I decided that I'm going to take that route to save money. I think it was a good way to help fund my education, at the same time give children to families who wanted their own kids. I also worked at a Korean bar. I highly recommend that everyone should work as a server at a busy restaurant at least once in their life, especially in an early age, because it teaches you about reading people and servicing people, but also more importantly, you're thinking about your operational efficiency. So never go into the hall without bringing anything, or never go back to the kitchen without bringing anything.
All right, so let's unpack that a little bit. So Sora got some hustle in her, right? She basically paid her way through college, right? She already said she donated some eggs, right? And for any of you that know anything about that, they pay you a lot of money for that, right? So that helped her get through college. And she also worked at a Korean bar, she said, right? So I'm guessing she probably has little to no college debt, right? Which is the bomb. All right, let's keep moving.
I started my career working at a few different startups. And then I joined TubeMogul, which later got acquired by Adobe. At TubeMogul, I made $40,000 in base and $6,000 in bonus. And then by the time I left the next year, I made $46,000 in base and $6,000 in bonus.
All right. So this is the beginning stages of the scale up, right? The beginning stages of scaling in tech. So when she got into the company, she said she was making $46,000 base plus a little bit of bonus money, right? The following year, she went to $50,000 base plus a little bit of bonus money, right? So let's see how this scales, how this continues to scale from here.
And in 2014, when I moved over to Netflix as an associate, I think that was the biggest jump. So I went from 46 to 110,000, which is more than double.
All right, scale up number 3. She goes to Netflix. She more than doubles her income, right? She goes from making $52,000 a year at this first company in 2013 to getting hired at Netflix a year later, making $110,000, y'all. I'm telling you, the tech industry is the only industry I know of where you can scale to this multitude. So let's see how this continues.
My biggest negotiation tip is to have counter offers always. When I was interviewing at Netflix, I actually was interviewing for another company in the morning, and I had gotten an offer on the spot because that VP loved me. What I was offered was about $80,000. So I already went into Netflix thinking, okay, if this doesn't work out, I would still double my compensation. That gave me a lot of confidence boost. So I did well on the interview. And then when it was time to negotiate, my minimum was, I said 90,000, and they came back with 110K.
All right, I want to unpack that a little bit. Okay. So she said she went into her interview with Netflix, right? And she had interviewed with another company that morning, and that company loved her and they offered her on the spot. They offered her $80,000, right? So that gave her a lot of confidence going into the interview with Netflix, right? Netflix also loved her, right? So she negotiated $90,000 with Netflix. Netflix turns around and offers her $110,000. You know what that tells me, y'all? That tells me that she left some money on the table, because if she asked for 90 and they just voluntarily gave her 110, that means they were willing to pay her way more than $110,000. That's what that tells me. So I wonder in retrospect, I wonder if she, of course, it all worked out in the end. She got to work at Netflix and it was, hey, it's Netflix, right? I wonder in retrospect, though, does she look back and say to herself, you know what? They offered me that 110 like that. I think I probably left some money on the table, because I guarantee you that she did, right? So let's keep moving.
When I left Netflix, I made 165,000 all cash. And then when I moved over to Facebook as an IC5, I made $150,000 and bonus was 15%.
All right. She's still scaling up, y'all. She's still scaling up. So when she left Netflix, with $165,000, right? Then she went over to Meta, got $172,000, right? So as you can see, these numbers, they ticking up, right? So let's see where she goes from here. The scale up is real.
I wasn't having a nice time at Meta. I didn't feel like I was really growing. I didn't feel like my leader was very invested in my growth. I got reached out by a recruiter from TikTok on LinkedIn, and I interviewed for the role. So that when the big round of layoffs happened at Meta, it was perfect because I got laid off on Wednesday, got my offer from TikTok on Friday, and I got this TikTok role.
All right. So let's look at this. When she left Meta, she was making 231,000. So she was at Meta for maybe looks like about 6 years. Looks like she was at Meta for 6 years. When she came on with Meta, she was making 172, and when she left, she was making $231,000 a year. So she gets the offer from TikTok. She's making, you might as well say, $292,000 a year. That's a $60,000 pay increase, y'all. $60,000 pay increase. And so this is after she's been in the game now for 11 years. So from 2012, she went from making $46,000 to fast forward to 2023, she's making $292,000 a year in tech. All right, so let's go.
I was able to get the severance and start my new job. My relative feeling of being wealthy, I think it diminishes over time because I'm working with, directors who are making millions. And that moment from Tube Mobile to Netflix, I think, was the biggest moment where I felt like I made it. And that's when I bought my first designer purse. I haven't felt that way since then. I try not to keep more than $10,000 in my checking account.
All right, so let's dig into this net worth. So Sora's net worth is $843,000, right? So she's got investments in stocks and crypto, which makes up a big chunk of that. So it's $467,000 in stocks and crypto. Then she's got her Lake Tahoe home that's worth $336,000 in equity. That's how much equity she's got in it. Let me just say that she's got $336,000 in equity built up in her Lake Tahoe home, right? Then she's got her retirement investments, which is probably like her 401ks or whatnot. That's might as well say $42,000 there. Then she's got her RSUs at $48,000. Then she's got some cash, $21,000 there. And then she's got the 529 college savings for her baby is $10,000 there. Then she's got some FSA accounts, is $8,500 there. So on her mortgage, she still owes $250,000 in mortgage. She still owes on her car $36,000, and she's got a little bit of student loans left at $3,000. So she's looking pretty good, man. So I'm looking at this. She'll have no credit card debt, right? Just she's got a mortgage, a car note, and a little bit of student loan payments, man. She's gonna have that knocked out, and then everything she's bringing in is gonna be pure upside, right? So I love this.
I already maxed out my traditional IRA for this year, and I'm on track to max out 401k contribution this year. I also contribute towards my son's 529, and anything else left, I put it into Robinhood to acquire index funds, individual stocks for interesting companies, and Bitcoin. I don't have any regrets. I was at a point where I would be fine even if my net worth starts at zero. I got divorced when my son was 2.5 years old, and it was actually because I read an article that if the kid's under 3, it actually leaves a pretty low impact in their life, and it peaks around 11 to 13. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I should just do it now. It was pretty costly divorce in terms of lawyer fees. I was ordered to pay spousal support. And aside from that, my ex was managing all the finances. So actually, I was pretty oblivious to like personal investing, which sounds kind of funny because I'm the one with an MBA degree. I didn't know like how you even access 401k or how to buy stock. I knew that it was going to be very difficult financially. So at the beginning of the divorce, I opened 3 credit cards that had 0% APR. I think at max, I had about $100,000 in credit card debt because all my money was tied up with real estate and I couldn't really move money around that much. It's been a learning the past 2 years. I read a lot of books and a lot of courses. I feel pretty good about it now. In March, I bought.
All right, let's dig into these expenses. All right, so we know Sora, she balling, she make a lot of money, so she got a big check coming every month, right? So out of that, she's spending $14,500 a month. And let's see what she's spending it on. So I see the big discretionary spending, which is pretty much like almost a third of what she actually spends. And for those of you that don't know what discretionary is, that's basically your splurge items, right? Those are not your necessities. Those are just the, times when you're treating yourself, you're shopping or whatever the case is, discretionary. So that's taking up the biggest chunk of everything, right? So I'm sure she's going to unpack that and tell us what that is. So the smaller portions of, what she's got, she spends, insurance, gifts, student loan payments, food, subscription and memberships, transportation, and then savings and investments. All those combined, it's pretty low in comparison to how much money she's bringing in, right? Then she's got her child care, and then she's got housing and utilities. Her housing and utilities for where she's at in California, that's pretty doggone low. So the biggest thing is her discretionary income, which can fluctuate depending on what she's doing. So her expenses, as it relates to her income, is really not that bad, right? Because there's always room in your discretionary spending. She's got $4,400 to come down. She could have zero in that area if she wanted to, right? So let's see how she unpacks this.
Bought a necklace to celebrate hitting the 100,000 followers milestone on Instagram.
My rent is $49.50 and I split it with my partner.
And my son is in pre-kindergarten right now and I pay all of it right now. My car payment is $1,000, so that is one financial mistake I've done. During divorce, I bought a brand new Tesla Model 3 Performance. It was about $70,000 and I'm still paying off it. $1,000 a month is a big deal. And if I had put that into something else, I would have been making more money. And I regret buying that full price, brand new. Huge mistake.
She didn't get rid of it though. She said she regretted it, but she's still riding around in that bad boy, ain't she? For real.
I know I've had a pretty unhealthy relationship with money growing up. Looking back, my father constantly talked about money and I was pretty obsessed with money. I don't think I'm completely free of it now. It's something I think about constantly. I've been making conscious efforts to have healthier relationship with money. Also with Jackson, I like having adults-like discussions with him. Like if he's sitting in the car seat and he's like, that's a Porsche, like that's an expensive car. Like, he heard it from somewhere else. And I would be like, just because someone has a nice car doesn't mean that they're wealthy, and cars are a depreciating asset.
It's 2 for $7.
Okay, let's do
You know what this is 2 for $7.
Okay, let's do this one.
Okay.
Nah.
He's probably not really understanding all of it, but I think the more I talk to him about it, I think the more he can grasp when he's ready.
Jackson, do you want to help mommy? Can you roll up your sleeves first?
My number one tip for working moms or working parents is give them chores. Even when we go to restaurants, if we need to get a menu or a new spoon, I try to get him to ask the server. And in the beginning, he was very shy. And now I can see whenever he gets the spoon that he asked for, like he looks so happy. He's so proud of himself. I almost feel like God or some sort of higher being gave him to me so I can take a pause and enjoy life versus constantly think about how I can do better and be more, and feeling anxious about how I am not doing enough and how I'm not making enough money. I keep thinking about this, but when I'm with him, I can fully focus on him, and it, I think, really balances me out. I was on a Netflix reality show called Love After Divorce, which ended last year. My social media account started to grow exponentially, which I'm really grateful for, because I do love sharing my stories on how to become more effective employee and how to navigate corporate careers. Because I do think the more knowledge we have, especially women of color or people in Korea who want to work for American companies, they're going to be more empowered to be better at their jobs and pursue their passion, and also move up more quickly and make more money. And so that's something I'm very passionate about. So I want to see how far I can take this. You can do it all, and I want to be that person to inspire people to be more, dream more, and do more.
All right, so I'm gonna stop that right there. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching, listening to her story. That was a really good episode. So I'll put the link to it in the description if you want to go back and watch it again. I'll also put a link to her YouTube channel if you want to go watch her there as well. So yeah, so great example of how to scale up in tech. I mean, Sora went from $46,000 to $400,000 at TikTok. Of course, when you add her base salary, she's got stocks and all this other stuff that add up to the $400,000, but her base is like $300,000 at TikTok, which is amazing, right? And as you can see, I mean, she's not a spendthrift. She's not going out here being crazy with her money. She's got a mortgage, a car, and a little bit of student loan. She's paid off all of her credit card debt. And seems like she's doing a really good job with her son too. So definitely great story, man. So yeah, so now I want to get into the next piece of content. I want to talk about somebody by the name of Brittany Peach. Do you remember the name Brittany Peach? Let me jog your memory. Brittany Peach was an account executive at Cloudflare. She went absolutely viral when she recorded her being terminated or laid off from her account executive role at Cloudflare. This was 5 months ago in January, right? And since then, she's been pretty quiet. Now, recently she resurfaced and she made a post on LinkedIn that I want to share with you. Now, for those of you that have no idea who Brittany Peach is, you don't know anything about her going viral, you never seen her video where she showcased being fired, I'm going to play a little bit of that video for you just to give you some context for where I'm going with the LinkedIn post that I will be sharing with you. So I'm going to share my screen with you again. I'm going to replay that video that went viral back in January. Let's go.
Hey, Brittany.
Hi.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My name's Rosie. I'm just joining the call. Nice to meet you. I'm on the HR team.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
Thanks for meeting with me and Rosie. We have an important meeting today. We finished our evaluations of 2023 performance. This is where you have not met Cloudflare expectations for performance. We've decided to part ways with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Sure.
So I started August 25th. I've been on a 3-month ramp, and then it was 3 weeks of December, and then a week of Christmas, and then here we are. I have had the highest activity amongst my team. Since I've started, I have had 3 contracts out, done a really great job managing my deals up until the very end that decided not to close last minute. So I don't think that makes a lot of sense for me in my Cloudflare journey here so far. Also, every single one-on-one I've had with my manager, every conversation I've had with him, he has been giving me nothing but I am doing a great job. I have had great activity. I have really great meetings. I'm picking up the products very quickly, and things have been going really, really well. I make really great relationships with my clients. So I disagree that my performance hasn't been, I haven't met performance expectations when I certainly have, just because I haven't closed anything officially.
I hear you.
Also, why are you doing this and not my manager? We've never met, so this seems a little odd that my manager has no idea that this has been happening and the director has no idea that this has been happening. So I'm just definitely confused, and I would love like an explanation that makes sense.
100%. Real quick, let me carve out the 2 threads. The latter of why I'm on this conversation, I'll put that one to the second half, and Rosie might be better to explain the process of who's giving this information in the prior piece, which is your feedback and notes about your performance. So let me add a little context to that. So just for clarification, you are not being singled out in this. Your peers are also being collectively assessed on performance. This is a collective calibration for Cloudflare. So I just want to clarify that piece. I won't be able to add any kind of specifics on numbers or.
Wait, yeah, no, can you explain for me why Brittany Peach is getting let go?
I won't be able to go into specifics for numbers.
Wait, why though? I just started. I've been working extremely hard. Just because I haven't closed anything, that has nothing to do with my performance on a 3-month ramp with just 1 month with 2 major holidays in the middle. I don't think that has anything to do with why I should be let go, if that makes sense. So I really need an answer and an explanation as to why Brittany Peach is getting let go, not why Cloudflare decided to hire too many people and are now actually realizing that they can't afford this many people and they're letting that go. If that's the real answer, I would rather just you tell me that instead of making up some bullshit and telling me that right before I lose my job from someone that I've never met before, if you can respect that.
Yeah, I can totally respect that. And I don't think Dom or myself today is going to give you any clarity or answers that's going to meet the expectations that you're communicating to us, Brittany. So I can't speak to.
So am I getting let go for no reason? If you guys can't give me a reason.
I'm happy to follow up with you separately to give you.
All right, so I'm going to stop that video right there, because you guys get the gist of it. It continues on for another 5 minutes, right? So for those of you that haven't seen it, I'll put a link to that video in the description in the comments. But that gives you enough context before I go into the post that she recently posted on LinkedIn on Friday, which was a day ago, right? Today's Saturday. She posted it yesterday, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so we can dig into that LinkedIn post. And I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are, right? So mind you, she got laid off in January from Cloudflare, and it is June. Actually, it's about to be July. It is June the 29th, right? So let me share my screen and let's get into it. All right. So this is a recent post that she recently posted, right? So it says, I feel embarrassed to be posting this, but desperate times, as they say. It's been almost 6 months since I was laid off, and I am at my wit's end. The amount of conversations, interviews, presentations, and research I've done for companies I will never work for is beyond what I could have imagined. 4+ rounds of interviews for no job offer and no feedback, except we loved you, but there was another candidate we just had a bit more experience. Who just had a bit more experience, excuse me. Or you interviewed great, but you're just missing one small piece in your background. And then I will see the same hiring managers or recruiters continue to post the job postings on their LinkedIn page. I don't understand. You have an awesome candidate right here with natural relationship building and sales aptitude, begging to work for your company and willing to put in the time and effort to understand and sell your product. Discouraging, disheartening, exhausting, scary, frustrating. All words to describe this process and what I felt every single day. I feel like giving up, she says. When the video went viral, I received literally thousands of "I would hire you in a heartbeat" or "any company would be lucky to have you" messages. Yet, when it comes down to it, it has been the opposite. 6 months of no income has now begun to put me in a scary financial situation, and I am asking my network for help. I may have gaps in my resume, and I may have short stints at my previous companies, but that does not deter my ability to be a kick-ass sales rep. As an account executive on your team, I will be beyond driven, tenacious, organized, curious, a sponge, resilient, and will become a top performer on your team. All I need is a chance to prove it. Hashtag open to work, hashtag sales, hashtag account executive. So since she posted this on her LinkedIn page, it's bumping up to about 5,000 reactions, 569 comments, and 241 reposts, right? So I did scan through the comments to get a kind of a temperature check on what people were, saying. Was it mostly positive, negative, in between? And most of the advice she's been getting has been pretty positive. I think most people are in support of Brittany and everybody just wants to see her do well. There were a few negative comments in there, kind of like shaming her for taking the viral video stance that she did and pretty much saying this is probably why you're struggling type of thing. But for the most part, people were like giving her like job leads and they were giving her advice and, just kind of, showing support. So the comment section was not that bad at all. But I'm interested to know what you guys think. Do you think that she's having a hard time landing another role because she broadcasted her termination back in January? Or do you think it has nothing to do with that? It is just that we're in a shitty job market and she's on the same struggle bus that many people are on? Which do you think it is, right? Me personally, I think it's probably a little bit of both, right? I think she's riding the job struggle bus with everybody else, but I don't think that viral video is helping. It ain't doing her no favors, right? So I think that definitely has something to do with the fact that she's still 6 months out of work. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying it probably is playing a factor in what she's going through. At the end of the day, I hope Brittany lands a role. I don't want to see nobody out here, losing houses and cars and stuff like that, because that's the worst, right? So I don't want to see anybody go through that. So hopefully Brittany is able to land a role soon. Let me know what you guys think. Put your comments down below. I'm interested to know what you think. Brittany Peach has resurfaced after 6 months of being pretty quiet on the social media channels, right? All right, so the last piece of content I want to get into, I have a vacation coming up, and I ran across this content that actually talks about vacations. Now, one thing I want to say about vacations, one thing I know about us as a people, I don't care what's going on in our lives. Most of us, we're going to find us a way. We're going to find us the way to go on vacation, right? We're going to find us a way to go on vacation. I don't care if the rent is due, the car note is due, Georgia Power is knocking on your door for that payment. You're going to say the hell with all of them, and you're going to figure out how to go on vacation, right? We love our vacations. We want to get to the beach. We want to go on the cruise, whatever it is, right? So this article is kind of talking about that. How are we paying for vacations, right? So let's get into the article. I'm going to share my screen with you really quickly. Let's go.
The average vacation cost for one person in the United States is a little under $2,000 per week.
More than a third of summer vacationers, 36%, are willing to take on debt this summer for their travels. The reason that's worrisome is because the average credit card charges over 20%, which is close to a record high. I don't want to tell people they can't have any fun, but this represents a lot of people taking on expensive debt. And this is the kind of thing that can linger.
Globally, 72% of millennials and 65% of Gen Zs said they plan on spending more on leisure travel in 2024 compared to 2023. In the US, 47% of millennials and 42% of Gen Zs said they plan to take on debt to go on summer vacation.
There are so many compelling reasons why people choose to take on debt to have these vacations. If your kids are dreaming of going to Disney World and there's no way the family could ever really swing it without going into debt, it could be a memory the family will have forever. Parents often can rationalize spending in these terms for their children.
Here's how Americans are paying for their summer vacations. Credit cards are the most common way people pay for their vacations. 62% of Americans surveyed said they put at least some of their trip on a credit card. Financial experts say that this can be a risky move if the borrower cannot pay the balance in time to not be charged interest.
The average credit card balance is already over $6,000, according to TransUnion. If you add $1,000 in vacation expenses to that, maybe it feels like a drop in the bucket, but it just makes it that much harder. That's $6,200. If you make minimum payments at the average interest rate of 20.7%, you're going to be in debt for 18 years and you're going to pay more than $9,000 in interest. So some of this is making a bad situation worse.
The debt feels like this trade-off for a lot of people. It's ultimately the interchange between money for these lifelong memories and seminal experiences. And that's a sacrifice many are not only willing to make, but feel so strongly in doing so. Especially when debt is a weight many people are already accustomed to carrying.
Consumers are still out there using their credit cards. Their credit card balances are over $1 trillion now. We're seeing actual delinquencies on credit now rising. People are dipping into their savings. But bottom line is that they're still spending.
Not all credit card users are paying interest. 43% of Americans said they used their credit cards to pay for their trips, but paid it off in full to avoid interest. This also comes with the perk of accumulating rewards points.
Use those rewards points and miles. Put those to use. But it doesn't make sense to pay 20% interest just to get 2 or 3 or 4% cash back or airline miles.
In order to avoid interest while still having more time to pay off the credit card balance, some vacationers choose to open a new credit card that provides them with 0% interest for a set period of time.
The risk here is that once the term expires, the rate goes way up.
Another option vacationers are considering is taking out a loan for their trip. 5% of vacationers plan to take out a personal loan from a financial institution, which typically carries a lower interest rate than credit cards. The average interest rate of a personal loan in June 2024 was about 12%. 6% of those surveyed said they plan to borrow from friends or family.
I think both of those represent a slippery slope. Personal loan rates have gone up a lot.
That debt equals irresponsible is so pejorative and such a simplistic way of looking at this, that there's all different reasons and rationales why we might intentionally go into debt. People don't think taking out a mortgage for a home and making this a lifelong investment is irresponsible, but it can be a really bad investment in a lot of cases. So you have to consider, where is it important for you to invest your money? And maybe it is this trip with these lifelong memories with your family that you'll never get back.
Another option is loaning money to yourself out of a 401k account. A loan is different from a 401k withdrawal. Withdrawals have different rules and tax implications. Loans are not permitted from IRA or IRA-based plans. The reason someone may go this route is instead of paying interest to a financial institution, they would pay themselves back over time with interest. That payment will go back into their retirement account and eventually accumulate compound interest.
Borrowing from your retirement plan definitely worries me, because really the biggest predictor of future returns is time in the market. So even though we don't know what stocks are going to do this week or this month or this year, over the long haul, they've been massive wealth builders. So I feel like that would be more of a last resort if there's kind of an emergency. Going on vacation is not an emergency. It is interesting how, while you could say on one hand that it's worrisome that credit card balances are near record highs and the personal saving rate is near a record low, this is powering a lot of economic growth. But what's good for the economy is not always good for your household finances.
Consumer spending makes up nearly 70% of US GDP, which means a rise in consumer spending can spur economic growth. But a rise in consumer debt can lead to a hard pullback in spending, which can cause what's called deflation.
Deflation is just generally associated with not just recessions, but deep recessions in the economy.
A recession occurs when there's, quote, a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months.
Historically speaking, deflation means that prices are actually coming down. And the reason why prices are coming down is because people aren't spending money. The reason why people aren't spending money is because they don't have jobs and they can't afford to go out and take a trip to Hawaii or go out and buy a new Lexus or do those kind of things. They're just kind of trying to tread water, and they're not even doing that. So therefore, prices are going to have to keep coming down.
It's important to remember that there's not just one consumer story.
You have the same consumer that might be out there spending on travel, going to events, whether it's concerts or sporting events, which we are seeing very, very clearly, and that's driving some of these travel trends. And they're doing it in a way that's really strategic. At the same time, that same strategic consumer might be walking into a store and really thinking carefully about how they're spending, looking for the best promotion, the best discount. So it's not one story for the consumer. And I think that's really important because it creates a lot of complications in the narrative, because you have consumers looking for discounts, you have consumers looking for promotions, and you have consumers that want to make their dollars work the best they can.
Financial experts say the key to affording a vacation is to plan ahead. Advisors say the first step is figuring out what you want to spend and to set a budget for the trip.
this is our allowance for food and this is our allowance for trips or activities. So you can kind of make sure your behavior is consistent with your values, because money on trips can feel like monopoly money. I had a client I worked with who decided they were going to stay in an Airbnb and they were going to cook all of their food. So they were going to save on food and they were going to splurge on this boat trip they were really excited about. And it felt like a compromise.
The next step after establishing a budget would be making a plan to save.
You can start small and daily. Maybe you're going to set aside a little bit of money each day or each paycheck to this dream vacation. And it can be helpful to have kind of a calculation set up.
On top of setting aside the money, you can also find small ways to save on costs to make the most of your trip.
There are plenty of ways to save. You can have fun on a budget. You can use your frequent flyer miles or credit card points. You could be open-minded about when and where you go. Kind of zig when others zag. Maybe travel in the off-season or the shoulder season, or drive instead of fly, or travel midweek instead of on the weekend. If you can let the deal dictate the destination, that can really help you out. Flexibility is key.
There's times when you just have to be realistic. If you financially can't swing a vacation, can you get creative? Can you find a way to take a break from your life or mimic a vacation without the big expense?
Maybe even do a staycation. I think that's an underrated option.
Nearly half of Americans said they plan to skip their summer vacation, with 65% of them saying affordability was the main issue.
I kind of worry about both of those extremes. You know, you have the people that are paying 20 or 25 or 30% extra to go on vacation, which is not great. But then you also have a lot of people skipping the trip entirely, which may be regrettable later on.
You guys think about that. I mean, have you ever done the, unresponsible thing and taken some money that was for maybe a very important bill and said, you know what, screw it. I'm going on vacation. We deserve a vacation. I've been stressed. I don't care. I'm out of here, right? Have you ever done that before, right? Have you ever gone on a vacation knowing damn well you ain't had no business there because you ain't had no money to be going on vacation? Have you ever done that? I know I have in the past. I mean, and I get the mindset behind it, right? Sometimes life can get so intense. You feel like if I don't get up out of here soon, I'm going to lose my mind up in here. I understand. I've been there, right? So yeah, so definitely interested, man. So if you guys have ever taken your rent money and went to South Beach, put your comments down below. I'm interested to hear your story. Some people really do treasure experiences over expenses, right? And I get it, because nobody is promised to be here tomorrow. So you want to get your memories, you want to have your experiences, you want to do the things with the people that you care about, regardless of what your finances look like. You want to make those things happen, right? So I totally understand that. So yeah, man. So I'm going to end this video right here. That's all I got for you guys. I'm about to get up out of here. I'll see you guys on the very next episode. Tech Job Tina is out. Peace and blessings. Bye.